G'day Bifrosters. This is enough playing around with this now. We've really got to put this together. So you've all seen this. This is the guts of the noise. Yeah. So looking back over at the Houdini job, we've got all these kinds of noise. Sinusoid, Pellin, blah, 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 blah. We've already decided we're not going to do Pellin, periodic Pellin. We've got simplex. Sparse convolution we'll get to. That's going to be an episode by itself because it is complicated. Flow comes with Bifrost. I'll show you how that's turned on, and periodic flow, we'll work on that. Wally we'll have to make, and it covers all of those, and Wally also covers this. So we've got two choices now. We can start putting in more noises, or we can start to add the terrain system. Both of them are going to need a menu. And the first noise we have to try and put in is probably the sinusoidal noise, which isn't a noise at all. So let's have a crack at putting that in. So what happens now if I just add a sine node? We'll take the length of this, plug it into there, and we'll just swap this out. When Bifrost allows me to, we'll swap that out. So all of a sudden we get a great big bump. Let's have a look at this. So that doesn't look like the Houdini one at all. This is basically just giving us ripples. Now, it's a good thing to have. I mean, we can use these ripples. We have to make a decision if we want to like keep these. We can animate this. We can pull our amplitude down a little bit. And, we've got essentially halfway to a ripple solver just using a sine node. Pull that amplitude down a little bit more. That's a good thing to keep in the back of our minds, but it's not what we want. It's not just giving us a sine wave. So we're going to have a look at how this sine wave is working. Delete those for now, and I'll plug in this back in so everything doesn't break and everybody's happy. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to split these out. So we'll go vector 3 to scalar, and we'll take a sine of that, of the x, and let's take modulo, and we'll plug that in. It doesn't do much to start with. Let's take this to 4. And you see we're getting ripples on the x. That's what we want. Now what happens if we do this? Except we plug it into the z, and then we add these two together. Plug that into our set range. That's looking a bit more familiar. So this is essentially how we're going to do this for a flat plane. What this won't work in is if we were to throw this into a sphere. So let's take the plane out and put the sphere in and see what happens to the sinusoid when we do it. When we do that, so we'll put that in there, and we'll put that in here, and it's also a good test to see that it works in different things. Put out our amplitude, and it's only happening on x and z. If I add the y to that, so we're going to need one more copy of this. And don't forget, I'm doing this at the same time everyone else is. So now we've got 3 sines and we're adding them up. They've all got modulo 4 on them. In fact, we don't actually need the modulos. That was an idea whose time had not come. Let's plug that one in there. You can see the sine waves on the x there. Plug that one in there. Now we're x and z, so it's sinusoidal on both, and that one in there, and you get a little bit more filling out on the y. I think we've done it, but let's check to see what happens if we do this to the plane. Go back to the plane and do it. Yep, there we go. So that is looking very, very similar to this. Houdini's one, for some reason, is capped at the bottom. Just making sure I don't have anything weird going on that's causing that shouldn't do. No. So there you go. We have our first and second noises. I like to call this one the egg carton because it looks a bit like an egg carton. But you know, I guess it only looks like an egg carton if you come from certain places. Let's check our controls to make sure everything's doing what it should be doing. So we'll bring our frequency up. Remember, this is the frequency like element size in Houdini. We'll bring that up there. That's cool. Bring our amplitude down to 1. Yeah, we have definitely got a sine wave. I'm going to go check the right view with the grid turned on. So yeah, we have a nice sine wave in every direction as far as I can tell. Yeah. Lovely. So there's our first noise. There's our sinus noise. Now, obviously, it's going to be a royal pain in the bottom to be going into your compound and swapping out noises every now and then. So we can either keep building noises, or we can, let's just make this a little bit nicer since we know they work. We can keep building noises, or we can make the menu for the noises and then remember to build them later. So I'm quite happy to keep building noises, and I think that's what we're going to do, but we're going to organize this well. So anything like this, which is a single node and all of the stuff is taken care of by the options, I'm just going to leave as a single node like this. Anything like this little rig here that I've made to make the sinus work, I'm going to turn that into a compound. We're going to get a bit of a naming convention going on. Sine noise. So there's our second noise. Let's jump back to Houdini. What's next? Simplex. Got it. Sparse convolution, we will come back to. Flow noise. Right, so how does flow noise work? Well, let's see what the Houdini help has to say about flow noise. A noise that's stable over time, like a rotated purlin noise, useful to create noise that seems to swirl and flow smoothly across time. Use the flow rotation parameter below to control the rotation. Okay. Let's have a look at it and see if we can tell what it's doing. It shouldn't be doing anything on time yet because we haven't given it any time. There's no keyframes. If I go like this, so I'm pretty sure that Bifrost has this built in, and the reason I say that is if you take a curl noise like this and we hook up the things we need to hook up, so let's put the seed in there and let's put our positions in there, and we have a little node here now with time. Now of course kill noise is coming out as a vector, so we have to deal with that in terms of setting it into our -1 to 1 range, which we want to do for all of our noises. We're going to standardize this. So first thing I always try is getting the length, and if that doesn't work I will go and do exactly what I did in here. Let's just lay that out, and it would probably help if I hooked that up to the output, wouldn't it? Like so. So I'm just going to grab that one. So we're going to have two options. We'll just have a vector 3 to scalar, or the length. So for this, we'll just add all three of these together and see what we get. Okay, so first off, let's try the length. And I realize we're going to be talking about flow noise. So the length works, it's giving us a noise, everything's happy. It happens if we put in our addition. Also giving us a noise, but it's not quite as intense. Big question here, of course, is, let's put this out as a control, so time, can stay named time, and then outside here, we will put down a time warp node. And I'll take the time out of here and into here. Time warp is just me writing a little node that controls the speed of time. It essentially takes the time, does a bunch of logic to it, then multiplies that by a number. And then if you wanted to, say, loop it every 30 frames, it uses a modulator to do that. You could also just use the time node, but I'll use time warp for now. So now, with time plugged into that, you can see the noise is evolving. It's a stable noise that evolves over time. That is flow noise. So it's essentially just curl noise with a time component. We can play that back to see how fast it's actually evolving. And of course, because we've got a multiplier on that time, we can change that like so. Nice, and the noise itself is taking care of the frame interpolation and stuff. So there's our third noise. That's our flow noise. Do we want to go with this flow noise, which is a little bit sharper? The way I'm going to tell is because all of my settings are set outside of here and pumped in, I'm going to take which one of these looks the most like the simplex noise. So obviously the frequency is a little different. So what I'm basically going to be looking at is the height. Because remember, we're coming out at whatever the amplitude is, which in our case at the moment I believe is 1. So we're between 1 and -1. So let's have a look at this curl noise. That's about the same, 1 to -1. Let's have a look at this one. And that's a lot more reduced. They're all within the range. This is clipping though. You can see it at these points. It's getting to the top range and it's just being... So I think I'm going to go with the length. I may regret that, but I'll go with the length for now. And I'm going to keep these inside the compound we make for flow noise, just in case we need to go back to them, because I've been bitten by this before and I don't have the math behind it. So we'll make a compound. Turn our grid snapping back on and lay that out. There's an output there. These guys are okay to just sit here and be erroneous at the moment. Flow noise. Okay. 3 noises: sine, simplex, flow. Cool. We're moving along. Let's just turn the grid off for now. Make sure we've still got some nice... We do. That's good. What's next? Woolly. Woolly. The fact that woolly is next, well, periodic is next. So we need to find a way to make the noise repeat. There we go. Down goes Maya. Well, hello again, Bifrosters. Yes, that was a crash, and in the meantime I have worked out how to do tiling noise. This changes this tutorial quite a bit, and you can see the tiling noise. There we go. Or periodic simplex, if you like. The reason this changes the tutorial a bit is that this is quite a complicated solution that I found and implemented, so I'm going to need to take you through that and rebuild it with you. It essentially involves turning the positions, the X and Z positions of the X and Z positions of the input into two 2D circles in a 4D space, and then making the 4D space into a simplex noise. But it works. Thank you, Crash. Thank you to some amazing people, including this magnificent bastard who basically takes you through the whole thing. So what I will do is I will make another tutorial called Making the Noise. We'll talk about making this one. This is a 4-dimensional tile, and this is how it's done. I don't know what your code is like. If you're more on the artist spectrum than the technical spectrum, then this is going to scare the crap out of you. It scared the crap out of me, and I know how to code. So, yeah, just a little addendum there on this one. So we will be going through this in a separate video. But for now, we have sine, we have simplex, we have flow, and we have periodic. I'm still going to need to clean this up because I'm still not entirely sure how these settings work. I know how the detail settings work, which is why I'm playing with it in front of you. But this one, this one, I don't even know what this one does, because it changes the value and bunches of stuff with the noise. Not the value, changes the detail and bunches of stuff with the noise. But I am running out of real estate. But all of our input settings still work happily. The seed changes the noise, it just gets tiled. The amplitude's good. Let's try a bit of an offset. Yep, that's being nice and seamless. And the size also works. It's just this one little value here, this little, which is called value, and my bad, I know what that is. That's silly. I was talking about where's my, one of them's a radius. It's that one. This one, this value here, changes the number of tiles, basically. But it's a little bit backwards in that the lower you get with it, the more tiles you have. So that'll take a little bit of working out for now. But good news is we have periodic noise working. It's very periodic. You can see it's periodic. So I'm going to end this one here. It's been a bit of a sort of broken up mess thanks to machine crashes and me diving into something a lot more complicated than I thought it was going to be. We are 4 noises down. We still have, how many do we have to go? Well, we've got to put in our periodic. That's done. We've got to make it a flow noise, which should just be a matter of changing it over to a kill noise and adding the time. Then we've got our Wally and Alligator. Wally and Alligator is all based on Wally, so I will do another video. So I'll do one that's basically creating periodic noise, and I'll do another one that's creating Wally noise. And after I've done those two, we will put this all together, add the menus, we will have a mountain node. Okay? Better get you back to Maya and say thank you very much. I hope this has all helped.